All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be addressing a lot happening behind this space from the governmental level within the US that's going to actually accelerate, and I would ultimately say it's going to enable the integration, the utilization of this technology. But first, if you guys do enjoy this video and you're not subscribed to the channel, by the end of this video, definitely hit that subscribe button to join the over 200,000 plus crypto crusaders. I just want to quickly say thank you guys for, not only supporting the channel, but getting us to over 200,000. It's absolutely crazy. I appreciate every single one of you so much. Thank you guys for lending your time to watching the content, to just supporting the growth of this channel as well. So, thank you guys. Now, with that being said, let's dive on in. Let's not waste any time. And let's start off with what's been happening around the SEC. So we've been seeing so many big dismissals, paused lawsuits. It's a complete 180 from what we were used to seeing back in, roughly 2020 all the way up until roughly 2024 and basically the end of last year. Even before Gary Gensler left the office, we started to see even more lawsuits getting announced, which is just wild to me. But if we actually look, if we see here, Binance was the first major one that got either dismissed or paused. And we could see that that was back in the beginning of February. Then Coinbase towards the end of February, OpenSea as well, Robinhood as well, Uniswap as well, Gemini, Justin Sun with Tron, Consensus as well. So just in the month of February alone, there was over 8 cases either dismissed or paused. And so far in March, there's been about 3. I do expect going forward a lot more cases being completely dismissed or paused, or just a complete 180. I mean, so far we've already seen the 180, but we are going to see a lot more moves happening from the SEC that's going to not only be bullish for crypto, but ultimately unleash a ton of innovation within the US. Now, on top of this, talking about innovation, Coinbase recently said, and they called for a crypto revolution in the US. With 36 bold recommendations, it's demanding the SEC revamp digital asset rules to bring clarity, fuel innovation, and put the US at the top of the crypto game. From clear classifications to regulatory relief for tokenized securities, Coinbase wants action now, and the SEC's new crypto task force is listening. With the White House and Congress already engaging, is this the moment that crypto finally gets the green light in the US? I honestly do believe that we are moving towards getting that green light. I think that we're going to see a big shift around the scenery of crypto within the US as well. So far, tokenization has been heating up. We're about $20 billion on chain through tokenization initiatives. Some of the biggest players are already participating. So it makes sense to have just a complete full adoption phase of this tech in the US over the course of the next couple months, possibly even years. Outside of the US, we're already witnessing some pretty big moves, right? The BRICS are moving in on crypto. We recently saw Australia move in on crypto in a big way. So it just makes sense for the US to really kind of, put the foot on the gas and get things moving in a very positive way. And, I think that Coinbase is also aware of this. Coinbase being a US based company, they are already hiring. They are on a hiring spree. I think that they said that they're hiring about over 1,000 new employees, which is just wild. But beyond that, right, when we move over here, don't forget the Ripple case, right? And we're not forgetting the Ripple case. A lot of people are actually saying, when is the SEC going to announce that the case is basically finished with Ripple, similar to all of these other cases? Well, Eleanor Tourette really kind of put it into perspective. She said, not yet, because the commission still has to formally approve the withdrawal. Once that happens, we'll likely see a similar press release to the one the SEC put out about dismissing the lawsuit against Coinbase a few weeks ago. The commission usually deals with matters of litigation and enforcement during the closed meetings, and so will probably address the Ripple dismissal at the next closed-door meeting, which is next Thursday, this Thursday coming up. I didn't see a closed meeting on the schedule for today. So, again, the big focus this upcoming week is potentially seeing that announcement. I do think that we will see that announcement probably over the next 2 weeks. which is also going to be a pretty big catalyst for Ripple and XRP, just similar to the initial announcement from Brad Garlinghouse stating that the case was basically done. But again, Ripple getting that clearance basically means that Ripple and XRP are fully, set to be unleashed, and they could be unleashed in a big way in the US if we did see adoption of, Ripple products around the financial space, which I do assume will happen. But on top of that, we also saw a pretty big update from the CLO of Ripple, the Chief Legal Officer, Stuart Alderoty. Today, Ripple submitted its response to Commissioner Hester Peirce's February 21st statement. There must be some way out of here, calling for public input on crypto taxonomy rules. That Dylan lyric continues. There's too much confusion. I can't get no relief. The prior administration thrived on confusion to mask its failure to follow the law. We urge the SEC Gov's crypto task force to stay focused, return to first principles, stay within its statutory bounds, and finally bring relief through clarity. Now, again, just like Coinbase is stating over here, they're calling on, basically a full green light across the board on crypto in the US. Ripple is also doing the same. And these are US-based crypto companies, which means a lot. And when we look at the full breakdown here, obviously, they're talking about how the SEC, when it comes to crypto, has created absolutely nothing but confusion around this space. They're urging them to really kind of get the ball rolling here on clearing up the confusion, bringing in transparent rules, working with the industry, allowing their, basically, we want a guide that we could follow. Whenever you are a, blockchain company, you can kind of go back to that guide and see if everything, checks out. That's basically what we need here, just transparent rules. But on top of that, we did get a spotlight in on what Congress is doing. So Congress is actively considering market structure and stablecoin legislation. It is the role of policymakers to establish new legal standards governing crypto assets. As the crypto task force appears to recognize, the SEC should return to first principles and, within the bounds of existing statutes, strive to provide straightforward market guidance. Again, that's what we really want. That has been absent to date. To state it even more plainly, the SEC lacks authority over most digital assets and, in turn, most transactions involving digital assets. It can regulate only securities and transactions involving securities as defined by the Securities Act of 1933 and the SEC or the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. Agencies have only those powers given to them by Congress, and enabling legislation is generally not an open book to which the agency may add pages and change the plot line. And of course, talking about the statement on meme coins going back to February 27th, it is a welcome example of this approach. In just 2 pages, it clearly articulates, based on existing law, that meme coins do not fall under federal securities laws and therefore are outside of the SEC's jurisdiction. However, as the statement notes, the absence of SEC oversight does not foreclose other federal and state authorities from overseeing those assets and policing abuse. Now, outside of that, we have, starting with the basics, basically just making sure that we know and we can classify specific projects, or in this case, assets, as either one, securities or commodities. And that's where we really kind of see the focus being put on the Howey test, which, for years has always been addressed as a big problem around crypto, because we're trying to, we're trying to bring in something that's over 79 years old to, fall back on to address what crypto assets are. Like crypto assets that just recently launched, or if we think about crypto, 2008 is when crypto became a thing, and we're trying to apply 79-year-old law to crypto. It makes no sense. But on top of that, we do have that speculation was improperly substituted for investment under this regulation by enforcement. A common interest in a token's value or viability was wrongly substituted for a common enterprise. The mere sale of an asset of value became a capital raise. The subject of the investment contract was arbitrarily redefined as a crypto asset security, which is all under Howey. Decentralization, a concept found nowhere in the law, became a talisman for assets to magically morph from security status to non-security and back again. And that's Ethereum. That's actually a big shot at Ethereum. So moving forward, the SEC must disavow these past distortions and avoid creating new, needlessly complex approaches. Clear principled applications of existing law should be the North Star of the crypto task force. And I completely agree. So when we really think about what's going on here, obviously Ripple is making sure that everything is focused on everything that is wrong right now around the regulatory side of things is being focused on here, addressed. I mean, there's a lot to this document, but it definitely seems as though these US-based projects, these US-based companies as well, are getting behind the fact that we need a complete shift. And I do believe that we are getting that complete shift. We recently saw another big win around DeFi as the US Treasury actually removed Tornado Cash from its OFAC sanctions list, which was a huge one. That just happened on the 21st. On top of that, right, we know that Paul Atkins will be the face of the banking GOP, and this is going to be happening next Thursday for his nomination hearing. Trump's pick for US OCC, Jonathan Gold, as well, will also have his hearing. So, we have a pretty big week upcoming for crypto. I mean, outside of, just the whole idea of, the Ripple case potentially being announced from the SEC with that closed door meeting, it seems as though this week is going to be pretty big around regulations, bringing in some big players that are going to focus on regulations because, again, Paul Atkins is very pro crypto. It makes a lot of sense for him to really kind of keep that same mindset now that Congress is pro crypto. The SEC is basically pro crypto right now. This admin is pro crypto. So why wouldn't Paul Atkins really kind of abide by that same sort of trend and be pro crypto? It makes a lot of sense. He's always been pro crypto. So that's why I do assume that he will be. But also, we just saw the SEC have their crypto task force meeting, which is like a roundtable regarding key areas of interest in regulation of crypto assets. And this was definitely a big one. We saw a lot of great initiatives and updates from this overall roundtable. I'm actually very excited to see a lot more video clips coming out if we do get to see them. But there was a big focus on the Howey test. There was a big focus on, not really the Ripple case. They couldn't really talk too much about the Ripple case, but they basically, I would say they kind of referred to it in like the third person, if you will, without mentioning names. They basically just said that the Howey test is broken. We can't apply it to digital assets. We can't apply it to crypto, and things need to change, which, I agree. Everyone agrees. But this was definitely a big one that did happen on the 21st. Now, on top of this, we did see a big update from the Financial Services GOP. This was the April hearing. So talking more so about next month. Next month seems as though we're kind of going to continue that trend around making sure that regulations are making sure that, innovation stays here in the US, accelerating innovation in the US, and also getting to that end goal of not only adopting, but also integrating this tech within the US system. We have here the key highlights include American innovation in the future of digital assets, aligning the US securities laws for the digital age, decades of dysfunction, restoring accountability at HUD, exposing the proxy advisory cartel, how ISS and Glass Lewis influence markets. And if we actually go over here to the hearings, we could see a little bit more insights on this. So again, we have a few things around illicit finance, following the money tools and techniques to combat fraud. But the main thing that I'm really kind of focused on here is digital technology, right? So we have Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Artificial Intelligence Subcommittee hearing entitled American Innovation in the Future of Digital Assets, Aligning the U.S. Securities Laws for the Digital Age. Again, because when we think about how to get behind crypto, how to get behind this massive revolution happening in real time, the best way to do it is having those securities laws and having just regulations in place that don't stifle innovation, but actually accelerate it. And I do think that it all starts with preparing this correctly, getting this right, and not making the same mistakes that we made over the past, few years. I do think that once we have regulations in place, once we actually have proper regulations in place, I should say, we should see a big shift around the adoption of digital assets and the technology powering them as well. And of course, to wrap this video up, I do have to play the clip from the Digital Asset Summit of this year. This is actually Donald Trump. He's saying pioneers like you will be able to improve our banking and payment system and promote greater privacy, safety, security, and wealth for American consumers and businesses alike. Now, again, we don't get there without those proper regulations in place that actually not only support it, but accelerate it. So listen closely.
Digital Asset Summit.
To everyone at the Blockworks Digital Assets Summit. It's an honor to speak with you about how the United States is going to dominate crypto and the next generation of financial technologies. And it's not going to be easy, but we're way ahead. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted the first ever White House Digital Asset Summit, bringing together many of the world's top leaders in crypto for a conversation led by our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who's a fantastic and very brilliant guy. That same week, I signed an order creating the brand new strategic Bitcoin reserve and a U.S. digital asset stockpile, which will allow the federal government to maximize the value of its holdings instead of foolishly selling them for a fraction of their long-term value, which is exactly what Biden did. He got a fraction of their value. We're ending the last administration's regulatory war on crypto and Bitcoin, and that includes stopping the lawless Operation Choke Point 2.0. Operation Choke Point went beyond regulation, and I mean far beyond. It was a form of lawfare through government weaponization. Frankly, it was a disgrace. But as of January 20th, 2025, all of that is over. I've also called on Congress to pass landmark legislation creating simple, common-sense rules for stablecoins and market structure. With the right legal framework, institutions large and small will be liberated to invest, innovate, and take part in one of the most exciting technological revolutions in modern history. It's so big, it's, I think, as big as you can get. Pioneers like you will be able to improve our banking and payment system and promote greater privacy, safety, security, and wealth for American consumers and businesses alike. You will unleash an explosion of economic growth, and with the dollar-backed stablecoins, you'll help expand the dominance of the U.S. dollar, and many, many years to come, it'll be at the top, and that's where we want to keep it. We only want to keep it at the top, always. I can already see that the energy and passion of the crypto community is the kind of spirit that built our country, and it is exciting to watch as you invent the future of finance. And right here, it's going to be right here in the USA, the good old USA. Together, we will make America the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the crypto capital of the world. Thank you. Good luck. God bless America.
Digital assets.
Now, of course, is this just a lot of talk that we've been hearing for a little bit of time around Trump? You could say that, but I actually do think that when we look at what's happening around the regulatory side of things, it really is paving that path to not only having these technologies tapped in within the U.S. market to actually do these things like improving the banking system and the payment space, but it's also the fact that we have tokenization here that's unlocking massive amounts of opportunity, new asset classes, new financial markets. When we think about what's going on here, it's so much bigger than crypto cycles or the bull and bear market or this or that. No, we are now witnessing one of the largest technological revolutions in history, and regulations, we're at the finish line, basically, where regulations is the last major thing that we need in order to realize in the vision of these technologies, these networks being utilized at scale in and even outside of the US globally. So with that being said, we have a lot to look forward to next week, next month as well. We're starting to see some very significant regulatory shifts, and this is all going to ultimately give us the green light and accelerate adoption of this tech, including, of course, Ripple and XRP. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because I'm free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.